Good morning. All right, so happy Saturday. I have an idea for us. Did y'all ever see the movie Serendipity with John Cusack and Kate Schmanken Shell? Kate hot as heck. Well, in that movie, John Cusack asked his best friend to write his obituary. And I've read this idea, but I've never actually done this idea. So I have a task for us today to maybe think about for tomorrow. Write your own obituary today. Write down your obituary as you would want it. So that's an interesting proposition because, what would it say? How long are you going to live? What types of things would it talk about? What types of accomplishments would you like there to be on your obituary? What do you want to be remembered for? Husband, father, philanthropist, entrepreneur. What type of things when your life is looked upon, do you want people to remember you by? Do you want them to remember by what you did? Do you want them to remember you by who you became, the type of life that you led, the legacy that you left behind, the joy that you brought to life? Give your own eulogy or write your own obituary. It's a really interesting project, and I've actually never done it. This is one of those projects that I never sat down and did. And as I watched a couple of shows last night and thought about that, that's a really interesting idea because we don't ever really think about the end, I don't think. We don't think about the fact that, we're all going to die. Death and taxes. I mean, there's a couple of things that we're just not going to avoid. The Marine Corps has a great line. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. So, contemplate that fact for a little bit this weekend and ask yourself how you want to be remembered. What do you want to be remembered for? Do you want to be remembered for the personality that you had and the way that you approach life? Do you want to be remembered for, your kids and your family? Is there a business? Is there a garden? Is there a project that you did that you want to be remembered for? Or is it simply going to be that, he or she came, they had a great time, and they left, and that was it? Some people, that's where they want to be. They had fun, and then they were done. I don't know. Like I said, I have never actually done this activity, but I think it's a really good activity to contemplate exactly what it is people would say about you when you left and what it is that you want everybody to remember you by when you do leave. How do you want them to take a look at you? What do you want them to say? What type of legacy, if any, do you want to leave on this earth after your days are done? And how long till your days are done? I do know that one. I know how long I plan on living. But in terms of writing down your obituary and what it's going to say, I think that that's a great idea and a great experience. So my invitation today is that's it. Write your obituary. Think about what is it going to say. Think about what would you want it to say. This is a great way to set your intention for the rest of your life. Rather than letting it all be to chance, let it be intentional. Let it be directed. Let it be that you're going to take specific actions towards specific outcomes. And a great way to do that is to start with the end in mind. Go to the end and work your way backwards. Go to your death, do a eulogy, write your obituary, and then come back to the present. And what is it that you want them to say? What is it that you want to leave behind? How do you want to be remembered? What do you want people to say about you? I mean, if you think about it, if anybody's talking about you a year after you passed, other than an immediate family member, you did pretty good. I mean, how many people get talked about 10 years after they're gone? Not very many. How many get talked about 20 years after they're gone? I used to be a student teacher for Western Civ from beginning of time to 1500. So that's a history class, Western civilization, from the start of time to 1500 AD. And I would start out and I would ask everybody, okay, let's name, if you were going to have a class where you talked about 10 people, let's talk about the 10 most important people of the last 400 years. And we would spend some time going through a list. And, 400 years, you're talking about Da Vinci, you're talking about Gandhi, obviously you're talking about Lincoln, you're talking about Dr. King, you're talking about all those people. But you got Einstein, you've got Hitler, you've got Mussolini, you've got Stalin. It's tough to come up with a small list of names. And that's over 400 years. When we did Western Civ, we were really covering about 3,500 years. You really started about 3000 BC, 4000 BC, because you started in Mesopotamia and you usually started with Hammurabi. That was the first guy that you would start with. And you would go to 1500 AD. So let's say you did 4,500 years during that period of time, and you'd talk about 10 people over 4,500 years. And I'd say, these 10 people all did something pretty darn significant in order to get on that list. So think about, are they going to be talking about you 20 years after you're dead, 30 years after you're dead, 100 years after you're dead? Do you want them to be talking about you, or don't you care? Do you want them, I was here and then I was gone. It's pretty rare that we talk about anybody 100 years after they're gone unless they've done something really amazing. We're still talking about Lincoln 100 years after he's gone. We're going to be talking about Dr. King 100 years after he's gone. We're going to be talking about Gandhi 100 years after he's gone. But there's a lot of people, if you read the book Think and Grow Rich, the very successful financial people that were written about when that book was written 100 years ago, some of those people we don't talk about anymore. We don't even know who they are. I mean, you know who Hershey is, you know who Thomas Edison is, but there's other famous people in there that at the time were a huge deal that, now nobody knows who they are. Because making money doesn't necessarily put you on the list. Changing humanity some will put you on the list. So that's my invitation for today. Write your obituary. Do your eulogy. Think about the end and report back to us if you're willing to and see what it says. I think it's a great exercise. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy your Saturday. It's finally going to be sunny here in Northwest Illinois, thank God. And of course, go Bucks. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.